2020 was a very interesting year to say the least, with all the drama, the pandemic amongst others. Diep.io was no different, with this year getting a pandemic of multi-boxers, along with a little war between the developer Zeech and the multi-boxers themselves. As this year comes to a close, let's review the drama, bugs, and updates which have happened. This year started uneventful as usual. Zeech, who was working on Floor.io, had not bothered to do much on Diep.io at all. Instead, he opted to edit the changelog with a nice little advertisement of Floor.io. Now, enter Kazka. In around May, Kazka at the time was making a script called Diep Tool. This was a script that allowed a user to join up to 2 bots in an AFK feature to prevent the user from being pushed out of the base by others. I discovered Diep Tool myself early in July and made use of the bots to enlarge sandboxes and the AFK, well, for its usual purpose. Kazka also made a Discord server which I joined, of course out of interest. In late July, the increase in the number of bots likely drew Zeech's attention. This resulted in him applying a few changes. The first change was the POW worker. Proof of work, as it's called, is a way for the server to verify that the client is indeed human by making it arbitrarily hard to get past the POW when joining bots. FYI, the Diep.io POW can be found via the sources panel, and I have included the file in the description below. Anyhow, the POW works like this. A client joins a given server. The server will send a challenge for the client to solve, and note that this will consume a given amount of CPU. Once the client solves this, it will send the solved challenge back to the server, and once the server receives the result, it will send a new challenge for the client. Repeat. At first, the POW implemented was way too over the top and disconnected numerous legitimate clients, all the while consuming a lot of CPU, but on a side note contained a funny comment for the record. Many people created POW limiting scripts to lower the CPU consumption, and Zeech in the following days would also tweak the POW worker until it would not disconnect legitimate clients and make it more powerful against bots. The second change was disallowing all tanks below level 5 to shoot inside a team's base. It's pretty well known that lag bots who joined and shot at the same time would bring a server to a halt, and by making it so that they can't shoot even if they manage to bypass the POW worker, it would lessen the lag. And lastly, the third change tweaked spawn protection server-side, and I say that in quotes, since there is really no verification of it actually happening, but was said on the Reddit post regarding the update. On a much funnier note, the second part of the update momentarily broke all neutral dominators, bosses, and the arena closer for a few hours. They would not be able to shoot, and while bosses became free food, dominators were rendered harmless. The most humorous part of this bug was the arena closer, which would mindlessly try to ram into other tanks, not being able to shoot. Unfortunately, this would be patched very quickly within 12 hours. However, this would not stop bots. Script developers quickly were able to bypass the POW worker, and although lag bots were able to be limited, multi-boxing was not. All the while, Kazka's Diep tool developed very quickly, and multi-boxers became more and more frequent. Not surprisingly, Diep tool is the most prime example. As Kazka was continuing to develop the script, he eventually opened 4 Vulture servers where his script users were able to join their bots more efficiently, and on August 31st, he decided to make Diep tool Patreon only. This is where Kazka's downfall starts. At around the same time, his script was reported on Greasy Fork for violating the TOS, as all Greasy Fork scripts needed to be free to use. I, unfortunately, was unable to get a screenshot of said report in time, and WebArchive has unfortunately been unable to record said URL. As a result, Kazka was forced to make a free version of his script again, and all the while, when multi-boxing plagued the Diep servers, he called it a script designed to enhance users' gameplay. To Kazka, this may seem like a bomb averted, but unbeknownst to him, it was just the beginning. In late September, Zeech finally caught wind of Kazka's actions. Numerous complaints had been sent in the Floor.io Discord server, Floorcord, so much that Zeech decided to take a look. And what he saw, you could say, enraged him. Kazka was making money off of Zeech's own game, and to Zeech, despite him just wanting to move onto the floor and not care about Diep, this was the last straw. Begin the war between Zeech and Kazka. The first thing Zeech decided to do was to add a script detecting mechanism. Although I do not know the exact file or how the update works down to the finer levels, I have a good idea. This detection method detected if an extension modified, intercepted, or otherwise did anything to incoming packets from a server to a client, and if it did, would send a threatening message of an IP ban while blocking the client connection to the server. Note that this detection is still included to this day, with this image taken on December 31st. This immediately broke the most important scripts, including the Spade Squad server selector and scripts that contain server selectors in general, along with other seemingly odd blocks, including Diep style, a simple repel script, moved mouse, and show ping. Of course, Diep tool was also blocked. Later, Zeech confirmed that the blockage of show ping via pressing the button L, or via a script, was a bug and fixed it. Despite this, Kazka was quick to patch his own script within a few hours, in which Zeech decided to take more drastic measures. Now, first, we must understand what packets are. Packets are bundles of data that are used to communicate between the server and a client. A packet comes in two parts, the packet header and the packet itself. Usually, these can be intercepted, read/interpreted, and modified by the client. Now, a packet/packet header doesn't just give up the information upon interception. It is like a vault with a lock where the client needs the key to open it. With Diep.io, the key itself is easy to find since it did not change, and it could be used until Zeech changes aspects of the game where the lock changes and a new key needs to be found. This is the basis which Diep tool, along with server selectors and other scripts, were created upon, and now that this is out of the way, let's continue. Zeech decided to randomize packets and packet headers at least daily, which means that the key needed to read packets needed updated at least daily for Diep tool to work, sometimes less than a day, but never more. Now let's talk about a parser. Normally, in such a circumstance, the author of a script would have to manually update the key for the script to work. Enter the parser. A parser is code that will automatically update the key for a script when the lock changes. It is not dissimilar to a bot who will do things for you. And despite the fact that Zeech said parsers won't work, they unfortunately will. And while Zeech was updating the randomization of the packets, Kazka and his other fellow script developers were creating said parser. However, Zeech also had another trick up his sleeve. He could mask packets and packet headers. Not dissimilar to hiding the lock of the vault, where even having the keys not enough, as the lock is nowhere to be found, Zeech did exactly that. He also synced the shuffling of the packets to packet headers to make it harder to parse. On a side note, Discord user who goes by the name Binary had made a Sandbox control system where a user would be able to join via their Discord account instead of using the party link. And although this allowed careful moderation of trollers who would ruin Sandbox playing as arena closers, Binary allowed it to be broken as long as Diep tool would also be rendered broken. On the very same day, after, in double quotes, fighting a battle with Zeech, Kazka posted a public announcement in his Discord server regarding the situation and how Diep tool would have to end. However, in reality, it would be still far from over. In the following weeks, Kazka steadily developed new patches for Zeech's previous attempts at breaking Diep tool, and on October 11th, he officially relaunched Diep tool. Despite Kazka's best efforts, he would still be in vain, as Zeech was also hot on his trail. After a back-and-forth series of patches on both sides where Zeech stated that his fixes would take 10 times less time compared to Kazka's, the Diep tool dev finally gave up on October 16th and officially made the now broken Diep tool open source. And now, the war finally draws to a close where Zeech remained victorious. During the war, Zeech did remark the fact that he won't spend more than 30 minutes trying to fix something to Diep.io, which really just shows how much he wants to move on to Floor. Now, during the war, multiple people, most notably Narwhal I Don't Have Account, Michael, and me, focused on a different pressing matter, the use of special tanks in Sandbox in order to ruin it. Michael started out with a long message of a proposed solution where Zeech just declined with a simple no. However, we continued to pressure him and he finally gives in. Despite supplying him with a very good idea of making them toggleable, he rejects it and opts to instead remove them completely from the game, likely since it was easier, ending with the phrase, "If people bitch about it, I don't care." Subsequently, after one last round of Sandbox with special tanks created by I Don't Have Account, all special tanks were removed from Sandbox. With this removal, the infamous praise yoga known for the destruction in sandboxes with arena closers finally ends. On a sadder note, testing with special tanks, killing bosses with them quickly, along with the only last remnant of Mothership were also gone. As the war comes to a close, this brings us to the last update of the year. Spread scripting was long a problem in the Diep community, and on October 18th, Zeech decided to make a final update which would permanently stop this. Let's first talk about stacking. Stacking bullets with pentashot and spreadshot was based on the fact that their turrets shot in a pattern. For example, stacking with a pentashot, you would alternate quickly between two sides, allowing each bullet to fire forwards in a powerful line. With spread, you would do the same, but with one side, as the turret spread was more spread out. While doing this manually required skill and practice, a simple script could easily copy what a human could do, however, to a much more perfect extent, giving the script user an extremely large and completely unfair advantage over regular players. Zeech decided to stop this, as the apparent theme this year for Diep was anti-cheating, and in the end, instead of opting for a finer method such as JavaScript detecting of scripting, he decided as a whole to just have Penta and Spread shoot at the same time. This makes them relatively weaker and gives them a completely new type of playing, in a more of a shotgun style. But despite this, let's give an F to the manual stackers, including me. Oh, and right, he updated the changelog. Along with this, Zeech also added a new message during the loading screen, which says, disable VPNs or proxies if loading takes too long, which probably corresponds to him banning VPNs and proxies to continue to prevent multiboxing and circumvention of IP bans. Finally, on October 25th, Zeech decided to reintroduce the Floor.io ad from January, but this time he added a cute flower animation. Obviously, this was rather annoying, and many people complained, but according to Zeech, he could have cared less. He even showed us the statistics of Floor.io players on the 26th, which shows a huge increase in players after the ad was implemented. However, as time will tell now, the ad did not work for long, and as I check right now, Floor.io has only 58 players total, compared to Diep's 2,000 players plus. Discord user Binary, when met with this ad, disapproves of it vehemently, even making a script that changes routing packets from the Floor.io animation to Diep.io, which I find incredibly awesome. The link to the script is in the description. Now, despite this year of updates, the developer Zeech is highly unlikely to make any more major modifications, as he explicitly stated before. And because of this, unfortunately, we Diep players have to try to hold onto the game and appreciate how beautifully it was crafted by Zeech. On a closing remark, the POW worker remains effective to this date, as seen in the statistics Zeech has shared, and do keep in mind that Zeech does indeed keep logs, although he won't disclose what specific things he logs. But other than that, we have arrived into a new chapter in life, and I wish every one of you a happy new year, and a happy year of enjoying Diep.io. But will this year be the happy year that we all hope for, or one with the detrimental effects and malicious impediments like 2020? We can only hope.